everyone, welcome to another conversation on the Voice of the Marketeer, wherever you're listening or watching this from. My guest today joins us from Amsterdam and is someone who has checked a lot of boxes in his marketing career. Meet Kees, who's the VP of Marketing at Chili Publish, the market leader in creative automation software. With a 2 decade marketing career that includes 2 turns as CMO, Keys has taken several global marketing teams to many heights at top tier brands like NetApp, ServiceNow, Bynder, and Teamleader. I think his biggest strength is crafting marketing that not only drives revenue growth, but also creates lasting customer value and gives his competitors a run for their money. Keys, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to speak with me.
Hi, Nandita. Thanks for having me.
So, Kees, I do have to, pop this question first before we get into a lot of other topics today. You've clearly had the opportunity to work with some outstanding brands and companies, right? But looking back, which role or which experience of all of those presented the biggest challenge at the time? But today, when you look at it, it stands out as the most defining moment in your career.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I started my career actually as a copywriter, working for agencies, working for clients, and this is just to answer your question. There's actually a number of points in my career. We're not going to cover all of them, but I think the first one was going from a agency-based copywriter role early on in my career to a first role within an IT company. Because it just really changes the whole dynamic of how you're being briefed. You go into a team, you go into some kind of a planning structure that is very different from an agency way of working. And then the second one was when I noticed that as a copywriter, whenever when you're able to be part of a project where you're actually moving an audience from A to B, and I can still remember the magic of seeing results in terms of data and engagement and people converting, and you could really start experimenting with different messages and channels and landing pages and to find patterns that actually work, and the magic of turning a piece of copy into engaged audience turned me from a copywriter into a marketer. Right? Because that's when you start thinking about, okay, I'm writing. I've always loved writing. I still try to do it as much as I can. But there's always a point that you want to reach with what you write. And as a marketer, you bring a lot more to that conversation. It's not just about the copy. It's about the visual. It's about consistency. It's about building journeys. It's about looking at the data and be very real in how you assess data and the conclusions that you draw. And do you stick with conclusions, or do you allow yourself or the teams to kind of continue things that reportedly don't really work as expected, but we're invested, so we keep it going. And that's how I think I developed as a marketeer. I was part of the team building things and creating campaigns, demand gen assets, and now my main role is to really coach teams and to ask the hard questions. But moving from agency to the vendor, and then I think the second big one was when I joined American-based companies, because that's, I think, where I learned most of what I know today in terms of marketing. It started with integrated marketing at NetApp, then hypergrowth at ServiceNow, and really trying to hang on to consistent brand identity, messaging, campaign type demand generation as the company was growing at an immense speed. So that was not a very defining phase in my career.
So obviously you've been through many different pivot points as well, Kees. But today, what is it about your job that actually gets you out of your bed and just excited every morning?
Well, there's a number of things. First of all, I think as a marketeer, the time has never been as exciting as right now. And I think that it will only get better. And the way I mean that is, everything is moving faster because of technology, because of the pace of the markets. When I started as a copywriter and we were creating print materials, and this is one of the really gory examples, right? But I literally, when I started my career, I would get like in the mail, I would get like print proofs, and I would sit down and do manual editing, correcting, putting the thing back in the thing, and then onto the mail. And it took 2 days, and then I would get a new version next week, and it was insanely slow. And today, you get it in PDF, you give your feedback, you get a new version quickly after, or you create the new version yourself in some instances. So we've moved from a monthly to a weekly to a daily to an hourly speed of execution, which means you see the work grow under your hands, literally. And I think that's wildly exciting. So that's one thing. The other thing is, in marketing, successful marketing, it means total alignment in your go-to-market motion. And I think the SaaS business has really matured in that sense, that 10 years ago, the organizations would be fairly siloed, and it took a lot of energy to align, because people would really work in their own group and have their own plan. This is the marketing plan, this is the sales plan. And then it was up to the leaders to kind of align and make it all work in concert. Today, the alignment, because of the pace of things, needs to happen in minute one. It's like you sit down with your sales counterpart and you see as counterparts and products, and you try to make sense of market data, and you talk to investors and advisors, and you build plans that are aligned from the get-go, because if they're not, you will never have the time to fix it later on. So you build, my first point was, you build it kind of on a daily basis, but you also plan it on a daily basis. And the work has become so instant in its creation, execution, impact, learn, process data, analyze, build the next cycle. The scale of the acceleration is sometimes breathtaking, but that's also what really, like you asked, what gets me out of bed. I love it.
Wonderful. And speaking of scale and acceleration, I think, Kees, automation and tech platforms today are obviously throwing us into an era of, I think, what some experts, particularly at Forrester, have started calling intelligent creativity, right? Which is for the world of marketing, content creation. I think it's literally changing the way creators work and the kind of stuff brands and agencies are co-creating, right?
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is the single biggest thing that is likely to change in marketing as a result of all of this automation in the next couple of years?
The way I look at it, and I'm currently at Chili Publish, we build and market a creative automation platform that is very intelligent, and I'll get into that in a minute. What we see is you really need to break it down. So there's not an AI and an impact of AI to whatever. The impact of AI happens everywhere at the same time on all levels. And what I mean with that is, sometimes it's really simple. I'll give a very simple example. We have websites in English, French, and German. A year ago, we would build the English website, give all the assets and the content to a translation service. They would get it back to us. We would copy paste the pages, put in the localized language and visuals, etc., and then publish the local website. Today, that entire process is automated, right? And that means it's extremely fast. We create it in English, and then we put it through the AI, which puts out the translation, but also the HTML pages, the pages in staging for us to review and then tweak, a sign off, and it's published like that. So back to my example of manually doing the print proofs, that just took out about a month of production time, right? And that is one thing, but then the next thing that happens when you just, in a very simple but impactful example like that, it changes how you plan it. And this is where the real magic happens. So you see marketing plans go from we work a quarter on this thing, and then before we implemented Agile, that meant we were in a continuous delivery motion anyway. So we don't do 3-month plans of going into a room and building something, and then after 3 months, ta-da, there it is, and you publish it. No, you start very small in a sort of an agile sprint-like way. So you're incrementally delivering marketing to the market as it is. But now with the help of AI, the individual steps take almost no time. So the pressure that is created is not as much on the production process, but on the planning process. Because now you need to reimagine what planning should look like. And I know I go pretty fast in this, but it goes from the planning back to the alignment. Because now marketing has transformed into a unit that can create and execute much faster than before. It means the focus on and the pressure on alignment is even bigger. And those are simple examples. So like I said, translating, localizing assets. The other one is anything about proofreading and editing. We work with an excellent copywriter, Pat Gilmore, who also happens to be very much into AI. So we early on noticed 2 breeds of people. One breed of creator pushes away automation and AI. Another breed embraces it and looks for ways it can actually improve how they work, the quality of their output, etc. Pat very clearly is one of the latter, where he's also a technical guy. So he embraced AI. He's building GPTs to improve and accelerate parts of the editorial process. And one of them being, we are a very international company. Our first language is English, so we produce everything in English, but only few people are native speakers in English, right? And you can tell from the copy that we write at the pace that we need to execute. In a scale up like Chile, I have to put many commas and put a lot of conditions in there. But from time to time, we put copy out there that could have been re-edited by a native speaker. And Pat gave me a lot of heat for this. He's like, dude, it happened again. There's 2 typos in this email. And I'm like, and today there is really no reason for that to happen. There was never a reason for it to happen because we have high bars for quality. But today there is all kinds of ways you can just use AI to replace English by a non-native speaker with English by a native speaker. Now the next question is, Kees, are you telling me that you asked ChatGPT to write your emails, and don't you think that people instantly know when it was written by ChatGPT? Of course I do. So that's not the right way of applying AI to marketing. It's not, you don't ask the AI to write the thing. You ask AI to prevent errors, to keep things on brand, to do a check on brand voice, to look for ways to, for instance, come up with examples of something you write about. So it has to be much more sophisticated, which a good copywriter would do anyway, right? But in the old days, that would take a long time. You would have to clear a half day in your agenda to write a piece of copy that's actually really good. And Pat, before mentioned, is one of those copywriters. So you can trust him to never ask ChatGPT to write an email. He would spit on the floor. He's an Irish guy, so he would be very clear about that. But he would apply it to improve each and every element of it, and that is absolutely possible. And then it would be translated, and then it would be produced in templates. It will be produced in the marketing automation system, landing pages, etc., etc. It would be coded for reporting. The UTM codes would come in. The marketing automation platform reporting modules would be updated. And all of that stuff is instant now. So it is a very interesting mix of how we have always worked. Like there is a briefing, there is an expert working on it, there is output, there's review, Q&A, hopefully, so that you don't have those two typos. Then there's production, there's execution. AI is disrupting each and every step along the way, allowing experts to produce the same quality much faster. And that is the real thing that's happening right now. As a marketing leader, you have to be a generalist. That was always true. Like myself, I come from a copywriting background, from a campaign development, demand generation background. I did some product marketing. So there are always areas where you are better versed than other areas, but you have to oversee the whole thing. And then you have to appreciate the real value AI can add to each and every one of those steps, which is difficult, I must say. And it takes a lot of learning on the job and also outside of the job to just push yourself to first get to a level of understanding on the discipline, and in order to be able to understand the potential impact of AI there. But in any way, in any case, push every team to embrace it and be super open-minded about it, because all of the creation in marketing will be automated within about 2 years from now. I'm very convinced. Yesterday, we recorded a webinar in Chili Publish with my CEO, Kevin, and our CPO, Chief Product Officer, Bart. And Kevin also, in his wrap-up, said the days of graphics production, manual graphics production, are over. It's done. Whether you're in an agency, whether you're in a brand, you run an in-house agency, it doesn't really matter. The technology is way too compelling to kind of look the other way, or there's not even an option. So the question is not, will creation and production of assets be automated? The question is, how fast will it happen? What kind of legal issues do we have to work through in order for that to be a viable model? How does that impact the people that we recruit on our teams, the agencies that we hire? How does it change the briefs that we put out there? If the new operating model is along the lines of how I just described it, how does that change what we put out into the market? This is something one of our clients asked me literally, like, if your platform allows me to have a creative, put it into Chili GraphX, your platform, turn it into a smart template, so intelligent that it knows which channels to fuel, all the guidelines of those channels, all the code that it should be delivered with in order for tracking and tracing, reporting to be done, for optimization of the execution. You have all these platforms serving banners, optimizing for what is the best converting banner, the best converting copy, the best converting whatever in all these languages and versions. Let's say all of that is automated. Then the question is, what are you going to create at the very start of that process, which right now, in my personal view, is still very human. I was talking to someone at one of the big agency networks, and she said the impact of AI in creative agencies is, in the old days, when we would get a client brief, we would pull in a couple of creatives into the room, a couple of copywriters, graphics designers, what have you, all the some channel experts maybe. You go into a room, you align on the brief, and you start whiteboarding and sketching and cranking out the ideas. Today, 3 or 4 prompters join the team and less of the creatives. And part of the actual ideation in that room happens by talking to the algorithms and just combining from all corners of the digital universe, combine what the AI comes up with. But still you have the creators in the room, obviously, right? Because they are the ones connected to the zeitgeist, the here and the now, and the what is the competition doing, and what did we do before? Where are we taking the products? So, like I said, they're not being replaced. The process just changes, and if anything, it is much richer now. And I hope creative agencies or creative people watching don't look at me in the wrong way for saying that. I don't mean it's replacing anyone. I think the work is just changing, and the amount of information we have at our disposal every step of the way, and the computational power that we have available to just work through data and content and examples and ideas much quicker, I think allows creatives to walk away with the best idea much faster than in the old days, which raises the bar again. So I think this is the thing. AI is raising the bar every step of the way. And creative production, everything from the inception of the idea, which is already impacted by AI, but I think very much human, everything from the conception of the idea to in-market execution will be automated and will be accelerating at a tremendous pace. And I don't know where that will lead us as marketeers. I also don't know whether we will hit some kind of a natural boundary on the consumer side, like how much of this can the market absorb, or is actually improving the results of what we do. But the capability is changing very quickly.
Very interesting. So maybe just speaking of raising the bar and expansion of capabilities itself, Kees, I'm curious to hear your opinion about this, because it's also being talked about a lot in the face of AI and the pace of change. When you look at the future marketing teams, and I'm not even talking many years forward, I'm just saying the next 2 to 3 years, what marketing skills do you think will be extremely important for marketeers today to develop, because those will essentially be the sort of defining skills that get them hired and such?
That is really a very interesting and difficult question to answer, given all of the stuff we talked about before. I think, and this is a bit of a cliche, but I think it's more true today than ever. You have to have a very open mind, and you have to be in a constant learning mode as a marketeer, because guys like me, I cannot tell you what next year or the year after will actually look like. I do believe that and therefore you need to be able to quickly learn, adapt, find your niche or your area of expertise that you want, where you want to apply your talents. So that's one side of the answer. The other side of the answer is that I do believe that marketing itself is not changing, right? We, as marketeers, we work for a client with a product or service or something to be brought to the market. We still go through cycles of go-to-market planning, messaging, value proposition, positioning, competitive analysis, channel analysis, performance analysis, in order to build the plan for the next cycle of execution. Those cycles may accelerate. It may feel like everything is near instant, and you have to be able to respond to changing market conditions very, very quickly. But that doesn't change the fact that that very basic marketing planning cycle is still the same. It's just that many of the parts are being impacted by the pace of technological innovation. So I think those are my two sides of the answer. First of all, thoroughly understand the basic marketing planning cycle and how it should align to other functions in the company. Secondly, be super open to learn, and don't think that you based on where we are today, that you know where we will be next year. Be ready to change much more profoundly, maybe, than in earlier stages of the economy.
And today, just taking the example of your marketing team at Chili Publish, Kees, how are you approaching the upskilling, or should I say reskilling, of your team to help them stay relevant?
Yeah, it's a lot of it, just by the nature of, just by the pace of everything. A lot of it really happens on the job, the learning. So I'm not quick to send my team to some kind of a formal learning course. I don't, not because I don't believe in the value of it at all. It's more like we stumble upon new ways of working and new solutions to problems that we have to solve in the day-to-day work. And I just try to encourage the team to, like I said, be very open and just experiment and fail all the time. That's fine. Try to learn from it. Try to understand why things fail, so that we have a chance of improving for next cycle. So it's really more about coaching, to be open, and to myself. I'm reading the whole day. I'm just scraping the internet of ideas and things I see other people do, things other people put out there, and I just try to share how I think we could potentially benefit from an approach or a technology or whatever. Do lots of experiments, and just try to find the things that click and that makes and incrementally just improve everything we do throughout the day.
I want to circle back to something you were talking about a while ago, which is really, with the rise of automation and all of this AI generated content that's coming up, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious to understand what your current strategy actually is, meaning how do you ensure that your current set of marketing campaigns or the campaigns that your team is generating actually maintain, have a good, healthy balance of that human touch as well, and
Yeah.
they continue to resonate with a lot of your target audiences, because today your audience is quite global as well, right?
Yeah. I think the answer there is keep it very, very close to who you are as an organization and as a marketing and a commercial team. And I'm very lucky to be in a company that is small, growing, very clear purpose, very clear vision on where we want to take our market, and therefore almost by nature we would never allow for mediocrity to kind of dictate what we want to put out there, because we're way too invested in our vision. So I know that sounds a bit fluffy, but I mean it quite literally. I talked about a webinar we recorded yesterday. We created that webinar in the executive team. Like, it's not that we give it to a bunch of external whatever. We created as an executive team every line in the copy, everything that's in the visuals, everything we show from the product. We talk to our customers every day, and that's not just a thing we say. We literally talk to customers every day as an executive team, which means we are very close to the market and the real challenges and pains that our clients and prospects are trying to solve. And our vision is very strong. And my point is, if you have these elements and these ingredients on the table, AI should not flatten it out, make it mediocre, because it is very unique and it's very strong. So the only thing you should use AI for is to take that very strong message and that strong position and just allow for it to hit the market fast across all the channels, preserving its uniqueness and its human quality. And I think as long as you're able to do this, AI will only help you grow market share, beat competitors, reach prospects and buyers faster with more relevant copy, more personalized, localized, meet buyers where they are. That's what AI should do. And I think people also have to be very clear about this. It's not like we should allow the AI to tell us what we should be doing. We are the ones in control here. And that's why it's up to us to see to it that it's human and that it's close to what we want, what our buyers want, so that there still is a very clear exchange of value, and the AI is just making it easier and faster to get done.
And speaking of keeping the control and the holding the reins of it within ourselves, is something also a case to be made around the whole adoption of AI-based analytics, at least predictive analytics, that a lot of brands are, warming up to. I'm curious to get your take on, if you plan to or are currently using any sort of AI-based analytics to, look at market trends, understand, your pipeline of incoming leads or the high value leads that come in, or just looking at optimizing campaign performance in general. Is there any of these aspects that you are planning to hit with AI based analytics?
I think the only right answer to your question is yes, of course, right? Because the technology is here. No marketeer should be in a position to kind of shy away from it or think that what we do in our Excel sheets and in our dashboards will be better than what AI can just calculate through. And just the sheer, like I said before, the computational power of the AI is such that we come from a place where we talked about big data and data lakes and all, which already sounds, maybe it's just me, but to me that already sounds like a bit of an older time that we moved out of. And whether that's true or not, because there must be people in the audience who go like, Hannibal, you're not making sense here. But I do think so. I'm not in a company with 100,000s worth of CRM database. I'm in a scale up. We serve 300 to 500 clients. They're global companies, large organizations. So per client, we have tons of data. We have lots of data on the market, etc. But still, it is a fairly discrete pool of data that we're working on. And we are trying to get people engaged with what we are doing and what we're putting out there. I would say, as a demand gen marketeer, AI will help me find patterns. And patterns are the most valuable equity in demand generation, right? So if you're not mature in demand generation execution, you execute point activities. The next stage, you build sequences of activities. The next stage, you target those sequences to a very specific audience. The next stage, you optimize for patterns in your sequences. I would argue that AI can optimize every step of the way. And it's very much like how we started the conversation. Like, if you are in a very advanced demand gen operation, then you will be able to apply AI every step of the way. If you are a bit less mature and you're more in the point activity execution, then AI will help you produce faster, get things to market faster, understand what's working, what's not working faster. So it will improve your point activities, which will free up time to get to a more sequential mode of execution, which will then free up time to be more targeted in your outbound. I think the power in data processing and analytics and pattern finding, that is where marketing will see a really big impact. I'm not really there yet in my current process, but it will not take long. And I don't think it's about whether you're small or large or anything. It's much more about whether you understand your buyer and your markets, because until you do, you don't really know what questions to ask to the AI, right? So that's really where it starts. And that's also back to when you asked, what should a marketer be focused on? It's learning and be very open, but also really staying very close to the basic marketing planning cycle, which this is also about. As long as you understand your marketing planning cycle and you go to market motion and your targeting and your positioning and your competition, etc., that's when you understand where AI can have the biggest impact when applied in the right way.
Well, so we're almost down to the time that I had in mind, Kees, for the conversation. Any closing thoughts that you want to leave with?
Well, my big closing thought on this topic, and I really appreciate how you prepared it and your questions. I think the closing thought is no one knows. So don't allow anyone to tell you where this is going, because really no one knows. And that's great. It also means that we all have a real option here and a real impact. And we can really, this is, I think, in our time, things move so tremendously fast that if you understand it and you see it, you can go after it and own it. And I think that is more true today than it was yesterday, and it will be more true tomorrow, right? So trust your gut when it comes to these new emerging technologies. Don't listen to the gurus and just create your own magic with the technology. And I think this is the time for it.